Today I'm pruning Little Lime Hydrangeas, which are a bit different than Limelight Hydrangeas. In this video, I'll tell you about the differences, and I'll also show you how to prune your Little Lime Hydrangeas. I'm Laura from Garden Sanity. Let's get started. So oftentimes, you'll hear these shrubs referred to as panicle hydrangeas. And what that means is a panicle hydrangea, it blooms on new wood. And so any pruning that you do, you don't have to worry that you're cutting off any flowers. All the flowers grow on the current new season's growth. So all these leaves you see here, they're going to turn into stems, turn into flowers. You're going to have a gorgeous shrub. The other thing that's really neat about panicle hydrangeas is they're the hardiest of the hydrangea family. And so this is a great shrub, being trouble-free, easy care. It's a great shrub for beginners. So a Little Lime Hydrangea is a dwarf version of a Limelight Hydrangea, and it's quite often a better size for gardens. Size, in fact, is the main difference between the two shrubs. While Limelight Hydrangeas can grow up to 8 feet tall and 6 feet wide, Little Lime Hydrangeas stay between 3 and 5 feet tall and wide. Little Lime Hydrangea has the same stunning flowers as its big brother, just smaller, and the flower show extends well into the fall season. Limelight Hydrangea flowers are more of a football-shaped size. Little Lime Hydrangea flowers are more rounded. The Little Lime Hydrangea shrub has a rounded habit, with sturdy stems and branches that never get floppy. The branches hold the flower heads upright all season long, even during and after rainstorms. With Limelight Hydrangeas, as the flower heads get larger and larger, the branches do bend and flop a bit, especially after it rains. You don't have to worry about flopping with Little Limes. So the best time to prune your Little Lime Hydrangeas is in the late winter or early spring. Now, it's already mid-April here in New Jersey, Zone 7 in my garden. We had a longer winter, and that's why I didn't prune them until now, or I'm not pruning them until now. The fact that you already see some leaves on it, that's okay. The best time to prune is when you see buds forming. That's a good sign. You know you're good to go and you can prune. But if you have these little leaves, that's okay. So one thing I wanted to mention is one of the benefits of not pruning until spring also is you can leave the dried flower heads on for winter interest. They didn't really last this year. There was a lot of more wind or rain or snow or whatever the heck we had. They all blew off. They're a little more dainty than Pinky Winky hydrangea heads, which stay on all winter. But nonetheless, even with the windbreak of the arborvitaes behind it, they blew off. But it's still nice to kind of keep them, you know? You could even still gather these up and display them somewhere if you wanted to. So for now, it's time to prune. So pruning the Little Lime Hydrangeas is pretty straightforward. First, you want to look at all the stems and see, we got this guy that came right up through the center. This guy's taller than the rest, so I'm gonna go down a few ways. I'm not gonna worry that these are already leafed out. I'm probably gonna go down here to this set. I'm just gonna prune off right above it, and that's gonna be a good judge for me height-wise. So then I'm just gonna continue looking at all the different stems. You want to make sure there's no crossing stems, and sometimes they just get crossed from the wind, and then it's an easy fix. But for example, I'm just going to use this as my guide and just try to prune them all to be somewhat the same size. This will be the guide. Now over here a little bit, these are a little taller, and again, you have your choice. I'm going to go down to here. Then I'm going to take this guy, and we'll go down to here. So I'm going to keep doing that throughout the whole shrub. So the other thing that I will do is I will, as I'm pruning for height, I will also prune for width. I will shape this to be a little bit less wide, for lack of a better term, because these do grow out pretty well during the summer season. So when you're cleaning, like I'm showing you here, what you may see, and I don't see anything right away, but new growth comes from the bottom of the plant too. So you're going to get new stems that come out of the ground. And in fact, this tall one that I pruned earlier, I can see it came right out of the ground last year. You can tell it's a newer stem. So when you're doing cleanup, don't be surprised if you see some of that too. Now some people, they like to prune these all the way down. and just have a very short shrub that grows. But I like to keep mine between about 1 and 3 feet tall, usually about 3 feet. It's going to grow about between 3 and 5 as the season goes on. It's going to be very pretty. As I'm pruning the first little lime hydrangea, and I'm making good progress, there were a couple things I wanted to show you. Let's go down here first to the bottom. And you can see what I was talking about is that there's some little growth coming out from the ground. Now it remains to be seen. Those look really spindly right now, but I have a feeling those are going to grow pretty nicely. Again, if you look at this stem, this one that I'm holding, let's see, this guy, he grew last year. I mean, these, you can just tell he's a newer stem. They grow pretty well. So I'm going to leave those guys at the bottom. Also what I'm encountering, and you will too, is I'm encountering some dieback of the stems at the very base of the shrub. No big deal. That happens every year, but I wanted to show it to you because what happens is you might see an outside stem like this guy right here. Okay, so he looks dead, and I could probably, yeah, I can break him right off. But there's a lot of nice leaves here, so, you know, you can go in and just prune right there to this set of buds, and you'll be okay. So down here is a good example of where I've got dead stem. You see this guy coming out here? Well, that was where I made a cut last year. And again, I bet I can just snip that right off. I don't even need my pruners. But as you see, so there were 2 stems that came out. And it looks like one guy didn't make it. You know, he's all dead. But look at this other guy. Sorry for the camera. This other guy is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I will prune this guy off and keep this guy. So this is on the next hydrangea I didn't even get started on yet, but it's a good example of crossing branches. I mean, this is a lot of nice growth here that's come out, but when I look inside, I mean, you can immediately see, you know, these things are crossing. So if you can uncross them, that'd be great. If you can't uncross them, then what you need to do is you need to just choose one, cut it off, make sure they don't cross. It just lets in fungal disease and stuff. So that's just another little tip. I know I mentioned that before. So this is a cut I made last year, and what grew out of it was kind of this spindly guy, and that's a good example of a spindly stem. I'm not going to keep him. So I'm going to cut that down to here. But this guy is doing well, and it's got, you know, it's got some nice leaves on it. So what I will do is I will cut this guy to here, and I'll just see how that does. But this is going to come off. This is going to come off, you know, and down here further, this guy's going to come off. So, but at the end, you know, this guy right here where I made a previous cut last year, I'll take him off, but I'll keep this nice branch here. I uncovered more new growth as I was cleaning up in here. So this is nice to see, especially if you notice I cut back. This guy was a dead branch. And there's a couple other dead branches, so it's nice to have some new growth coming out of the bottom, especially since I told you that's what they do. I've got an example. This is the shrub I've now finished. And just to give you a comparison, this is the next one I'm going to do. Goes up higher. It's a little bit wider. So I wanted you to get sort of a comparison so you could see. So as I'm pruning the second Little Lime Hydrangea shrub, I came across some crossing branches that I probably missed last year because this looks like an older branch. But what I wanted to show you was this behind it. Do you see this? That's what happens when you have crossing branches. So they just start rubbing against each other. I mean, I'm surprised that this stem rather, as I go up and look at it, it does have some green on it. I'm shocked that it does. I'm gonna have to get that one off. And then there's this guy behind it. So he also has a bunch. So I gotta clean that up in there, but I wanted to show you examples of, you know, what does happen if you let this go. Somehow I missed that last year. But just showing you that it happens to everyone. No one's immune. Here's that branch I was telling you about. And this is just how much damage can happen with branches rubbing together. And this is why you want to definitely cut these out. It's starting to rain, so I'm going to give you a quick look at the pruned shrubs. This one I showed you already was the first one. And then here's the second one. Kept it as best I could, similar height. These are probably about 3 feet right now. Trust me, they are going to get probably around 4 to 5. And it is raining, and I feel like everybody's driving home now, so pardon all the traffic noise. All right, and here is the last one. So this is the one that's in the front, just to give you some perspective. This is the side bed. Still got to prune the grasses. But this one looks good too. I had to take a lot of dead stuff out, and this one had a lot of crossing branches. But it's done, and now I can actually clean the bed. So I hope this helps you with your pruning. To learn everything you need to know to take care of your little lime hydrangeas, check out my complete guide to little limes, a free resource on my website. The link is in the description box below. Until next time, happy gardening!